All right, Seth, are we ready? Me too. Got it. All right. Well, good. Good evening, everyone, and welcome this afternoon. I'd like to call this meeting to order and welcome you to the Coeur d'Alene School District 271 Special Board Meeting of April 18th, 2023. Would everyone please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to introduce our participants for this afternoon. Starting at my far right is Ms. Marianne Southwick, Clerk of the Board, Dr. Sean Hawker, Superintendent, Ms. Heather Tenbrink, Board Member, Ms. Allie Anderton, Board Member, and I'm Rebecca Smith, Board Chair. Trustee Leslie Bierke is joining us on the phone. Leslie,
hi, everyone. Hello.
Hello. And Mr. Casey Morrisroe is not able to attend tonight's meeting, but will be watching the recording of this meeting later on, which is one of the benefits of when we gather in this place, it can be recorded. So, is there a motion tonight to approve today's agenda?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right. In light of the supplemental levy failing in March 2023, the Coeur d'Alene School District 271 is preparing to declare a financial emergency per Idaho Code 33-522. As part of this process, and to follow code, the Board of Trustees will hear public input concerning possible financial solutions to the financial problems facing the district with the levy not passing. Tonight's meeting is for the sole purpose of hearing that public input. Those wishing to address the board with financial solutions are limited to one comment regarding the financial crisis, not to exceed 3 minutes. At the designated time, you'll be called to the podium. Please state your name and city of residence. If you have any handouts for the board, please hand them to the clerk, who will disseminate them on your behalf. Members of the board will not respond to public comment made during tonight's meeting. If I determine that an individual statement is off-topic, too lengthy, personally directed, abusive, or repetitive, the speaker's privilege to address the board may be terminated. If you have grievances regarding any employees, superintendent, or anyone else in the district, you're welcome to follow grievance procedure 4110P. If you have additional comments, you may provide those in writing. We know that there's a lot of topics of interest right now for the district. Tonight's meeting is to just consider solutions for our financial situation. So that is what tonight's topic is, and I'm going to do my best to keep us on that topic. And I want to thank you all for coming tonight and to being part of the solutions. All right. I do have my timer at 3 minutes. I'll just say that's 3 minutes. All right. So, all right. And I apologize in advance. I will do my best with names. Greta Gissel.
Good afternoon, Chairman of the school board. Thank you, and school board members, and Mr. Dr. Hawker. My name is Greta Gissel, and I am a citizen of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. I'm going to be really brief. The best way to address the budget shortfall is for our community to pass the levy. The items on the levy are inherently important to the education of all of our kids. So, thank you.
Randy Neal.
The administration staff is increased 139%.
And Mr. Neal, could you remind us where you're from, please? Thank you.
Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
Thank you.
Since 2012, the school continues to serve just a little bit more than 10,000 students. So the amount of students that we're serving has not increased, but the staff is more than doubled. And since 2012, the budget has increased 75%, while inflation has increased 31% over the same period, which means 48% of the budget increase is not due to bloat. It's due to bloat, not due to inflation. Idaho has 91 school districts. The average supplemental levy amount is 2.4 million. If this supplemental levy is passed, it'll be the highest in the state. With Brad Little's increasing funding, if the current $20 million levy expires without being replaced, it would represent a 15% decrease in funding. However, Governor Little's 2023-24 education budget has 16.4% increase over the last budget, shifting education funding back to the state. This is hardly the extreme dire situation alleged by the School District 271 administration. These are facts that have been verified, and is not the fear campaign that's been leveled against the kids and the parents of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Diana Sheridan.
Diana Sheridan, Coeur d'Alene. The first thing I'd like to address is a comment about the directions for the limit of the public comment tonight. And I want to read back to that says, if the board chair determines that an individual statement is off topic, too lengthy, personally directed, abusive, or repetitive, the speaker's privilege to address the board may be terminated. There's a U.S. Supreme Court ruling of 1964. It's New York Times versus Sullivan, U.S. 254. Those who want our independence believe the public discussion is a political duty, and this is coming directly from that. This is a portion of that ruling.
And will this be about are you going to get
Yeah.
to finances?
What I'm going to address is what we can even say in here, and then I'm going to address finances. Okay, thank you. Those who want our independence believe that public discussion is a political duty and that this should be a fundamental principle of the American government. That the path of safety lies in the opportunity to discuss freely supposed grievances and proposed remedies, and that the fitting remedy for evil counsels is good ones. Believing in the power of reason as applied through public discussion, they eschewed silence coerced by law, the argument of force in its worst form. Recognizing the occasional tyrannies of governing majorities, they amended the Constitution that so free speech and assembly should be guaranteed. Thus, we consider this case against the background of a profound national commitment to the principle that debate on public issues should be uninhibited, robust, wide open, and that they may well include vehement, caustic, and sometimes unpleasantly sharp attacks on government and public officials. We would, I think, more faithfully interpret the First Amendment by holding that at the very least it leaves the people and the press free to criticize officials and discuss public affairs with impunity. So I'm just asking you to reconsider your statement for future reference when you decide what people can and can't say. Now, in regards to the finances, I am going to suggest that, first of all, any numbers that are being used going forward are numbers that are adjusted based on the statistics and the information that's currently come out from the state as to what the additional contribution to the district will be from the state, and adjust anything that we're talking about how far we're going to be under that $25 million mark should the levy fail. That'd be number one. Number two, to do an adjustment of that to a budget takes a lot of nuanced experience. And my suggestion is that rather than leave these decisions all in the framework of this, just inside of the current people in the district who may or may not ever had the experience of taking a budget and cutting it 10%, 15%, 25%, that you actually bring in an advisory group who's going to be able to approach this from a more nuanced and successful way should this budget actually fail, the levy fail. Thank you.
Thank you. Russ McCain.
This is Russ McLean, Kootenai County. For the record, Miss Southwick, that old woman cut ahead of me in the sign-up sheet. There's good legislation, there's bad legislation, okay? Good legislation was when Senator Jim Hammond separated the schools from the URDs, the urban renewal districts. That was a good one. The bad legislation was removing the schools from our property tax. That just debunked any long-range planning possible and put you guys in a bad spot. Whether it was good legislation or bad legislation, Sherry Yoga Berra, I don't know how to say her name, Yogi Bear, I don't know.
Ybarra.
We didn't exist to her. And I have high hopes with Debbie Critchfield to bring our money back from Boise. What happens in Boise stays in Boise. We all know this. So we're really going to have to lean on her. But it was just poorly implemented government. You know, really, I don't know what the right word. I'm trying to be polite. But I'm hoping the levy passes, we get it passed, and we really work on Debbie Critchfield. So far, she seems to be a genuine lady, and I really have high hopes for her and for our school district. I have my own reasons for liking the schools, but that's my business. And anyway, that's all I got to say. We have to really work on reminding Debbie Critchfield that we exist. Okay, good night.
Thank you. Shirley Nishimori. Thank you, Shri.
Hi, my name is Shri Nishimori, a resident of Kootenai County in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. I'm a mother of 3 boys, a business owner at Pyre Fine Arts, where I teach pottery and art. I adore most of our teachers in our community. They go to work with a passion to teach. I appreciate most of the principals and vice principals. They have to navigate a lot of different problems throughout the day in our current social climate, and I have a lot of empathy for the responsibilities they have to shoulder. I value our community's children being able to go to school and learn about math, science, art, music, etc. What I do not value is seeing a decline in education. Our school systems are not a vehicle for the far left political agendas. It's not an opportunity to exploit any loopholes, plant seeds in our children, and not a place to indoctrinate our children and rob any form of counterbalance with fear-mongering and character assassinating. And it is not an opportunity for extortion. The attempt to tug at heartstrings in our last board meeting was saddening, having our children in fear they won't have sports, being told the bus driver will lose their job. It was all an appeal to emotion. Sadly, following the Coeur d'Alene Press did not fully represent the entirety of viewpoints in the article post-meeting, but only further exploited the emotional aspects, highlighting and honing in on ethos in order to sway extortion for a monetary benefit. There needs to be transparency in funds in order to allocate any unnecessary spending down to finite numerical data that can be assessed in order to produce educational results. If microfinancial management is not transparent and has been mismanaged, how does that lend favor towards the belief that a successful macro financial management will occur? It is our best interest as a community that we are holding the proper higher authorities accountable to produce the data that will ensure proper management of larger funds if we want successful education in our children. This is not a matter of the community not valuing our teachers or being villainized as if we want programs removed such as art, music, etc. I personally want our teachers to stop having their hands tied in fear of political backlash so their focus and energy can solely be on proper education to prepare our children for adulthood. It would be liberation towards effective education if we could do away with leech policies that are taking away from educational experiences. Mismanagement, for example. My son, Anthony Huey, had previously gone to River City. An incident in his classroom occurred last year where he did not call a female transitioning into a boy by her new boy name. He was kicked out of the class, removed from a setting where he should be receiving an education. This year, he made an attempt to oppose the use of furry costumes in school. In his ELA class ran by his teacher, he requested, I don't know if I can use names.
Please don't. Yeah, no names,
yeah,
please.
I'm gonna keep that
Thank
out.
you.
He requested to use this topic in his persuasive essay and was denied his ability to speak freely on his stance that he does not believe furry costumes or gear should be allowed, as it has often been controversial sexual fetish attire used by adults who identify as anthropomorphic animals.
And if you could bring it back to the financial piece.
Yes, I'm gonna,
Thanks.
it's all laced in. She escalated this into a larger ordeal. It was brought to the principal's attention. Anthony was removed from the middle school of taking a science test and was directed to leave the school if he did not drop the topic. I refused to remove my son for this and was told that the First Amendment would not help in this situation, that they already had the superintendent's backing, that Anthony is using hate speech, etc. I pressed further and wanted a direct answer that defines how it's hate speech and that he doesn't agree, as it is also in direct violation with their own school dress code and is distracting in nature towards his learning, and I was hung up on. While these isolated incidents seem to be small in scale, if repeated, it is leading to a larger
And that's
problem.
3 minutes.
Oh, can I wrap it up?
You have 10 seconds.
Is leading to a larger problem that is robbing our children of the time they should have their focus on learning. It is a slippery slope that welcomes future issues if left unaddressed, and I would like to be enlightened how this is producing education or making good use of finances. Time equates to money,
And
if this
thank
is
you.
what's happening,
And thanks. Anthony Huey. And thank you.
Hi, I'm Anthony Huey from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and to further address on my mom's thought, I was on the levy topic. I was kicked out of class because I did not agree to the idea of using furry costumes because it goes against and distracts against my learning. And I do have to ask, if we are going to put in the money to further educate us, then how come I'm getting kicked out of class if I have an opinion on something if I'm studying for a test? I was studying for a test, by the way, in class for science, and the principal brought me in. He kicked me out of class saying, hey, if you talk about this anymore, about this agenda, you will have to be sent home and go to a different school, he told me. I told him that I will not stop, and it does not make sense to kick me out of class, and it does not educate me with the money being spent on the levy. Anyway, so I went back into class and I said that I still don't want them to be there, and then I go downstairs and then I sit in the dean of students office, where the principal again brought me out of that office saying that that I think I'm really smart now, but one day I'm going to grow up and realize that I'm not smart. So the point of that being, if I'm going to realize that I'm not smart, then how come the money being brought into the money for educating us is not educating me if I'm going to realize I'm not smart one day? Also, if there are costumes being used that are distracting students in class, then where is the money being used to that? Where is the education in that? And why is it distracting from my learning? I would agree with the levy if the financial things being spent onto it were used for my education. I do not like the fact that they are threatening to take things away for that, and that is all I got to say.
Thank you. Thank you. Mary Hamilton.
Hi, good evening. My name is Mary Hamilton, and I live in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. I want to say thank you to the board, first off, for unanimously voting to run another levy. I really appreciate that. Also, thank you to Dr. Hawker and the district team for working so hard to support teachers through this difficult time. I am speaking today as a Bora parent and a Bora alumni. I am disheartened and discouraged that the levy didn't pass. As a former Bora teacher and current parent, I've had a front row seat to the inequity that is ripe within our district. Many times it seems that equal and equitable have been interchangeable when decisions have been made. Previously, we were told that our daughter's needs couldn't be met at another school. In a sense, we were counseled out. Which school received us with open arms? Bora. Which school is most accustomed to meeting the needs of diverse learners? Bora. And which school does everything in their power to support kids and keep them at their school? Bora. I know that the parents at Bora received an email saying that it could be one of the schools considered for closing if the levy doesn't pass. In talking to a number of friends and colleagues connected with schools that have families with a much higher socioeconomic status, it's clear that some schools have far different resources and supports than Bora. Those schools have parents who are able to invest their time and money, and it is a tangible difference. When deciding to close an elementary school, please consider equity. Closing Bora might be the easiest with one of the lowest numbers in the district and also having the least amount of pushback. However, these are the students in our district who need a neighborhood school the most. They need buses to help with transportation and be able to walk to school. They need the pantry at Canvas Church near their homes, and they need a place that welcomes them and meets their needs. So please keep Bora open. I don't envy any of your positions if the levy fails. So I look forward to seeing you out and about in the neighborhoods and door knocking over the next few weekends and telling everyone to please vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Kristen Hess?
Hi, I'm Kristen Hess, and I live in Coeur d'Alene, and I'm speaking for probably 12 teachers that just gave just a little paragraph. And they say, for generations, people have funded public education because they believe in our future. Our children are worth our investment. Don't let us be the generation who lets them down. Passing the levy would help to solve budgeting issues in our sweet little town. The levy will help our students, teachers, and support staff receive what the schools and community deserve.
Thank you. Jessica Peterson?
Good afternoon. My name is Jessica Peterson, and I live in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. I have a daughter that is enrolled in all-day kindergarten at one of our amazing elementary schools in town, and another that I hope will get the benefits of all-day kindergarten in a couple of years. I will keep this short. The best way to address the budget shortfall is for our community to pass the levy on May 16th. Thank you.
Thank you. Nikki Wilson?
Good evening. I'm Nikki Wilson from Hayden, Idaho. Thank you for your time and work during this difficult time in our community. I serve several roles. I'm a mother, a wife, and an educator in this community. As a parent, I can't imagine asking students and teachers to do with less. I've spent many sleepless recent nights trying to figure out a better way to solve this dilemma that we face, and as an educator, it seems impossible. I stand before you with only one solution, and that's that we must unite and safeguard our schools and pass the May levy.
Thank you. Louis Swingrover?
Hi, my name is Louis Swingrover. I forgive you, though. I live in Coeur d'Alene. I'm a parent of 4 kids, one of each, all of whom attend CDA public schools. All right, I'll never make that joke again. All 4 of my kids attend CDA public schools, and they've benefited immensely from them by ways and means and along dimensions that are too diverse and brilliant to articulate in a 3-minute duration. Thank you to the school board trustees. I know it's a volunteer position, it's hard work, it subjects you to a certain amount of scrutiny that can sometimes be harsh, distortive, or uncharitable. But you're here for it. You're here like us because you care about the kids and the community, and you value public education, and you want to work to advance its good. In that regard, there are no sides. We're all on the side of the kids who attend CDA public schools, all of us. And in this section of the room, we're in your debt for your service to the kids of the district. Thank you. For my part, I would like to publicly voice my full-throated and unequivocal support for replacing the 2-year levy that's set to expire this coming year. The district relies on these funds for a quarter of its operating budget. Should the levy not pass, it would not be feasible to balance the district's budget while also shouldering its legal, ethical, and practical responsibilities to our kids. Of course, it's obvious enough that y'all could cut teacher, coach, and other district employee salaries, textbooks and classroom supplies, student computers, electives, sports and extracurricular activities, full-day kindergarten, safety personnel, transportation, custodial services, SROs, nurses, career technical education classes, music, drama, fine arts, and staff. That would straightforwardly solve the crisis. But for an additional 19 pennies a year per $1,000 of taxable assessed real estate value, it seems like the best way to address the district's financial crisis is instead for our community to pass the levy. That's it. Thank you for your time. I love you all.
Thank you. Anna Taylor.
Hi, good evening. I'm Anna Taylor. excuse me, and I live in Coeur d'Alene. I just first want to say thank you so much to everybody that's sitting on this side of the room. I know how hard you guys work and how much time you give to this. When I think about one of our schools closing or losing our nurses or our SROs, it breaks my heart. And all I want to say is that the only solution I see out of this is passing our levy. So thank you.
Thank you. Nylene Livingston.
Hello, neighbors and educators. I'm Nylene Livingston. I live in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho for 50 years now. All 6 of my kids went to Coeur d'Alene District 271, and they turned out fabulous because of the schools. They were all able to get into colleges that they preferred, and 5 out of 6 graduated. We have to support this school district. And if it takes money, it takes money. So what is the solution to our financial dilemma? We got to pass that levy, and we've got a month to do what we have to do to encourage people to get out. I think that's probably one of the first things, is to get our people out to vote, those who are in agreement with this assessment that I have. At least. So what do? There's plenty of trouble and issues that can distract us away from the issue, which is to pass the levy. There's this issue, that issue, about the whatever, but we got to keep our eye on the goal and not get yourself diverted and upset and all excited, but maybe encourage your friends and relatives, get some more signs out if you can. Maybe address the press, see if we can get some more things in the press. A lot of people, especially old folks, still read the paper. And so that would be, but to have some enthusiasm and some hope rather than, oh my goodness, the sky is falling, would be my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike Buzga.
Hello, I'm Mike Buzga, Kootenai County. So, don't have prepared notes, but as I look at the suggestion here, suggestion for ways to solve the district's financial crisis should the levy not pass. I find the comments interesting at best. You're having a special meeting because you apparently didn't take heed to what the voters said. If this would have passed by one vote, we wouldn't be here. We would have been, oh, great. Unfortunately, it didn't because you asked for too much. And I think you're an educated individual. Why did you ask for too much? Kind of seems like arrogance to me. You know the situation. You know the system. You know that if it didn't pass, you'd have a special levy. Okay, everybody figured that out. Everybody knows that. But when you had the special levy, you didn't ask for 20 million, even though it was suggested. Even though you know that the state is going to give you extra funds, and that 20 million, I'm guessing, would easily pass. You went for 25. Scare everybody. Kids aren't going to get educated. You've got an individual, one student here, telling you how it isn't working. That's sad. My suggestion for how to solve the financial crisis, should it not pass, is you give up your wage.
No. Mr. Buzga, you need to address the board, not Dr. Hawker. So it's up to the board.
And the superintendent of this district, who you supported, gives up his wage. I've been in the financial world. I've worked at a business. I've set up annual incomes This isn't how you do it. You know it. The board, you people should know it. This is not how you go about trying to get a levy passed. I doubt there's anybody in this room that would object to you just going for 20 million. Problem is you ask for too much and you're having a special meeting because you know there's a possibility that it's going to fail. And then you're held accountable. All of you should donate part of your salary. You all voted for it. That's my comments.
Thank you. John Robert.
My name is John Rubert. I live in Hayden, Idaho. I've operated business for 40 years, and I've always passed levies, but it was a number of years ago, maybe about 8 years ago, you guys put a little kid up on TV and said, hey, it's only 80 cents a thousand. Now we're looking at a heck of a lot more than that. Even the paper said the school district needs to balance their budget. The things I saw in your suggestions, none of them said to sell that overpriced building that you built with extra funds on Ironwood. Why isn't that included? There is no business that can operate where over half the school district aren't even teachers. My wife's a retired teacher. I believe in paying teachers well. They're not paid well enough. But there's a way to balance the budget. You've got to cut the staff. There's way too much support staff. Sell that expensive building. I would have to look at your financials again, which I did look at 8 to 10 years ago, and I suggested a way to save the not having a levy at that time, and it all fell on deaf ears. Happy to do it again. There's a lot of jobs available in town today. We're not putting people out of work if we cut the staff. There's other things that can be done as well, as far as HSAs for teachers. Our children, if we're good at teaching them, why is it we can't balance a budget? We're showing them how to grow up, balance a checkbook, yet we can't balance our own. I don't have a problem with some extra funds if they're necessary because the school district is required to do some other things. No problem with the buildings. But when it comes to the inefficient running, we can't run it inefficiently. I'd like to see some hard things that you suggest, not threatening to take away things that the kids deserve. Then we can discuss a reasonable levy. Thank you.
Thank you. Diane Hertz.
Hi there, I'm Diane Hers. I live in the Coeur d'Alene School District. I'm the mother of a high schooler. And I think one of the things that the district wants to teach our kids is how to be creative thinkers, right? That means you guys should be as well too. So we should look for solutions. And I think the problem is I've just seen a lot of denial of the legitimate concerns that the community has with the fiscal responsibility of the district. The prior meeting, trustee brought up, well, where are areas that we can cut? And the attitude was basically like, oh, we can't cut any of this. It's the levy or nothing, or it's Armageddon. And I also think that there's been a severe lack of trust because people who bring up these legitimate concerns are essentially vilified, and that doesn't help. So I've heard suggestions here that are incredibly helpful. Do a line-by-line audit. Figure out where things can be cut. Every one of us in this room has probably had to have some fiscal tightening because of the economy. The district should as well. I mean, I've seen reports about tens of thousands of dollars sent to staff to travel outside of state for training. Sure, our staff needs training, but our kids spent a year or two learning offline, learning in their rooms. Online or virtual training is certainly possible and can save tens of thousands. So things like that, I think, would really help. Being able to justify why, if this thing passes, it's going to be the highest supplemental levy in the state for the 6th largest district, that doesn't make sense to me. It either means that we're way overspending or we're just completely out of line with the other districts. So the other thing was, previously the justification was like, well, the state just doesn't give us enough funding. The state just increased the district's funding by what I've seen about $10 million. Now, granted, there's some other costs that are attached to that with regards to teacher salary, but that was still an increase of funding to this district, yet the levy increase didn't go down, it went up $5 million. So I think what you really need to do is take these legitimate concerns seriously. Don't disregard them. The community is trying to tell you something. We all are in favor of kids. We're all in favor of teachers. We're all in favor of education. And to vilify people who want to question the fiscal responsibility of the district as otherwise is really problematic. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeanette Lassiter.
Good afternoon, trustees, Dr. Hawker. I wasn't planning on speaking tonight, but I was just listening to some of the feedback, and one of the things that resonates with me is that we still need some additional community budgeting workshops on specific areas so that the community really understands some of the losses and where the restrictions are with state funding and those kinds of things. I feel like there's still a lot of disinformation out there about what is given to the district by the state, what restrictions there are, what other programs are grant funded, and what restrictions those have on them and how the spending is. And so I would just encourage during this time prior to the levy, I as a personal taxpayer hope that the levy passes, but I think there's an opportunity here to really open up and be even more transparent than you have been about where that spending is, and really dig into some smaller focus groups on certain budget areas and explain really the details of that spending and how the restrictions work. I think there's community members that don't understand that piece, and as a grant writer, I think that's important. I also, let's see, I wrote some notes here as I was talking. So the public workshops, I also think in case the levy doesn't pass, God forbid, but in case it doesn't pass, I think that there's opportunity to partner with some collaborations in the community. I know that nonprofits that do gap work, like HRAI or some of the other nonprofits that do safety net work, are already preparing. We're preparing to fill gap needs. And so I think having some open discussions with those nonprofits as to what that might look like in the next year. I hope we don't have to go to that point, because we are all tapped out. We are all seeing the increases in poverty, the increases of homelessness in our children, the increases of mental instability. And in order to do that, we all need to work together. So I would like to have some conversations with some of the nonprofits that work directly with the school district and have some more intimate conversations about what that might look like if the levy doesn't pass. And then I already talked about state. Yeah, I think that's all. That was it. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I don't have anyone else signed up for public comment. Trustees, would you like to each make a comment at all? And I'll wrap us up here in a second. Or anything, or? Yeah, so we're gonna, Trustee Tenberg, do you have anything, or?
I think I'll just say thank you for coming out. Thank you for caring enough about our district to come out and participate in this meeting. This is a process we're starting in case we need it. I sure hope we don't need it, but thank you for your participation tonight.
Yeah. Trustee Bierke, are you still with us?
I am still here. I have a few questions, but I want to formulate them a little bit better before I ask them. So I will be either sending them or asking on Friday when our next meeting is.
Great, thank you. I want to thank everyone for coming out. Our intent is to take this information, the number of emails that we've also received, all this, and continue to seek to do our best to move forward. And on Friday, then there will be more just discussion, and the district will continue to present some information to us. And so our next special board meeting is this coming Friday at 12, right here. And then we've got our next regular board meeting on May 8th after that. And then May 17th, there's a scheduled board meeting as well, which would be the day after the levy. And then we've got workshops following throughout the rest of May then. Do want to thank you again for all coming out, and we do appreciate you and this whole community. So thank you very much. Meeting adjourned.